1 year after humans first met the Valorians, a new problem arose. This time on Titan, Saturn's largest moon. Humans and Valorians had built a colony there together. It was home to 300 people, half human, half alien. Titan was a cold world with lakes of liquid methane. The colony was inside a large dome that kept everyone safe from the deadly atmosphere outside. One day, a powerful solar storm hit Saturn and its moons. The storm sent waves of energy that damaged many systems in the colony. Colony Director Helen Fisher called an emergency meeting. Her face was serious as she looked at the human and Valorian staff gathered in the control room. "The atmospheric regulators are failing," she said. "According to our readings, we have less than 6 hours before toxic gases get into our air supply." The chief Valorian engineer, Trencor, spoke up. "We have analyzed the damage. The main control units are destroyed. The backup systems are also damaged. By our calculations, repairs are impossible with the materials we have. We must evacuate." The room grew quiet. Everyone knew that evacuation ships could not reach them in 6 hours. Chief Engineer Laura Martinez stood up. She was a short woman with dark hair and tired eyes. She had been working for 20 hours straight since the storm hit. "I think we can fix it," she said. Trencor shook his head. "Impossible. We have done the math. The solution you would need would break the laws of thermodynamics." Laura looked around the room. "I need 5 volunteers. Frank Daniels, Olivia Scott, Gregory Kim, Diana Jackson, and Hector Ramirez. Meet me in workshop 3 in 5 minutes." The 5 engineers nodded and left quickly. "What are you planning?" Director Fisher asked. "Something crazy," Laura admitted, "but it might work." Trencor stepped forward. "I must object. Any solution that breaks fundamental laws of physics will fail and waste precious time." Director Fisher looked at the countdown on the main screen. It showed 5:47:32, and the numbers were getting smaller every second. "Do we have any other options?" she asked. The Valorian engineer was silent. "Then we try Laura's plan," the director decided, "even if it seems impossible." Laura left the room quickly. In workshop 3, her team was already gathering tools and parts. "Okay, team," she said. "We need to build something that's never been built before, using parts that weren't made to go together, to solve a problem that can't be solved." Frank Daniels smiled. "So, just a normal Tuesday then." "Let's work some magic," Laura replied, and they began. 2 months passed since the first meeting between humans and the Valorians. Both sides agreed to work together on Europa Station, one of Jupiter's moons. They wanted to share their knowledge about machines and science. The large station orbited the icy moon, with sections for both humans and aliens. Director Patricia Lawson led the Human Engineering Corps. She was a tall woman with short gray hair and eyes that missed nothing. "Today we welcome Engineer Prime Krelvos and the Valorian technical team," she announced to her staff. "Let's show them what human engineers can do." Krelvos was important among the Valorians. Their skin was pale green, and they had 6 fingers on each hand. They stood very straight and spoke in a flat voice. "We are pleased to begin this exchange of information," they said. "Valorian engineering is based on perfect logic and careful planning. We are interested to learn human methods." The first week went well. The aliens were impressed by human technology, even if it was less advanced than their own. But problems started during the second week. In a meeting about fixing the station's air systems, Engineer Joe Lewis looked at a broken part and laughed. "This is going to need some black magic to fix," he said. The Valorians in the room went very quiet. Later that day, Engineer Stacy Miller showed the aliens how she fixed a broken computer. "It's just a bit of wizardry with the coding," she explained when they asked how she did it. The next day, when Engineer Pete Garcia made a quick fix to a power problem, he called it good old-fashioned voodoo engineering. Each time, the Valorians looked more and more worried. Finally, Krelvos went to Director Lawson's office. "We must speak about a serious matter," they said. "Your engineers claim to use magic, wizardry, and voodoo. These are not scientific terms. Does Earth have secret powers you are not sharing? Or are your engineers not using proper methods?" Director Lawson tried not to smile. "These are just sayings, Krelvos. Humans use these words when we do something clever or find an unexpected solution." "This is very concerning," Krelvos replied. "Valorians approach problems with clear steps and proven rules. We do not guess or use magic. It's not actual magic," Lawson explained. "It's creativity and intuition. These concepts are not part of proper engineering," Krelvos said firmly. That evening, Krelvos sent a message to the Valorian government. It said, "Humans use strange methods in their work. They call it magic and seem proud of this. I recommend a formal investigation to understand if they are hiding something or if they are simply not logical in their approach to science." The message set in motion events that neither species could have predicted. 6 months after humans and Valorians began working together, a serious problem happened at Neptune Research Station. The station orbited the blue planet, studying its strange storms and weather. The station housed 20 human scientists and 15 Valorian researchers. They worked in different teams, studying Neptune from space. One regular Tuesday, alarms began to sound throughout the station. "Warning, reactor breach detected. All personnel evacuate to emergency shuttles." The computer voice was calm, but the message was not. Station Director Victor Rodriguez looked at the readouts. "The main reactor is failing. We have 30 minutes before it explodes." The Valorian science leader, Methar, nodded. "We must follow evacuation protocol immediately." People rushed to gather important research and head to the shuttles. The station's lights flickered as the power became unstable. In the engineering section, junior engineer Keith Rodriguez, the director's nephew, did not join the evacuation. He was only 26, the youngest engineer on the station. Keith stared at the reactor readings and frowned. "This doesn't make sense," he said to himself. "The safety systems should have prevented this." Instead of running to the shuttles, Keith ran toward the reactor room. When he arrived, 2 Valorian scientists were trying to shut down the system. "You must evacuate," one told him. "We have tried all standard procedures. Nothing works." Keith shook his head. "Let me try something." The Valorians watched as Keith opened his personal toolkit. He pulled out wires, small devices, and parts that he had collected over the years. Some looked homemade. "What are you doing?" asked a Valorian. "This is not in any repair manual." Keith didn't answer. He worked quickly, connecting parts that were not meant to go together. He cut wires and joined them in new ways. He typed codes into his small computer that made no sense to the watching aliens. "This will not work," one Valorian said. "These components are not compatible." Keith wiped sweat from his face. "Maybe not in theory, but we need a miracle right now." After 25 minutes of frantic work, Keith connected the last wire to his makeshift device. He attached it to the reactor's control system. The warning lights stopped. The alarms went silent. "How did you know this would work?" asked a stunned Valorian. Keith shrugged. "I didn't. Sometimes you just have to trust your gut and wing it." The Valorians looked at each other in confusion and wonder. "Wing it," one repeated. When Director Rodriguez learned what happened, he hugged his nephew tightly. "You crazy kid. You saved everyone." The Valorians were quiet. What they had seen broke every rule of engineering they knew. It shouldn't have worked. But it did. News of the Neptune incident spread quickly. The Valorian High Command could not ignore what happened. They sent senior investigator Drenthal to find out how humans really fixed their machines. Drenthal was one of the best minds in the Valorian Confederation. They had studied engineering for over 50 years and knew all the rules of science. Nothing about machines surprised them, until they met humans. The investigators set up an office on Earth's moon base. For 2 weeks, they interviewed human engineers, one after another. Please explain how you knew which wires to connect, Drenfall asked Keith Rodriguez, who had saved Neptune Station. Keith scratched his head. Well, I didn't know for sure. The power flow felt wrong, so I made a bypass. Felt wrong. Drenfall's face showed confusion. Machines do not have feelings. It's just an expression, Keith said. When you work with systems long enough, you develop a sense for them. This answer did not satisfy Drenfall. They spoke next with Chief Engineer Maria Diaz from Mars Colony. How do you diagnose problems with the air systems? They asked her. Sometimes I just listen to the machines, Maria explained. They talk to you in their way. A good engineer learns their language. Drenfall's notes grew longer and more frustrated. Next came Engineer Paul Smith from Europa Station. Your solution to the water recycler problem broke 3 standard protocols, Drenfall pointed out. Paul nodded. Sure, but the book doesn't cover every situation. Sometimes you have to improvise. After 26 interviews, Drenfall called a meeting with the Human Engineering Council. I am deeply troubled by what I have found, they announced. Human engineers do not follow consistent methods. You talk about feeling, listening to machines, and improvising. These are not scientific approaches. Council head Doug Barnes smiled. That's the human touch, investigator. We combine solid training with intuition. Intuition is not a valid engineering tool, Drenfall insisted. And yet it works, Doug replied. Our history is full of breakthroughs that came from thinking outside normal rules. Drenfall returned to the Valorian High Command with a surprising report. It said, humans possess some kind of natural connection to mechanical systems that we do not understand. They sense problems and create solutions through means that seem random but succeed more often than they should. While not actual magic, their methods operate outside known science. This ability may explain why they use mystical terms to describe their work. The report caused great debate among the Valorians. Some wanted to learn more about this human ability. Others worried it was dangerous to trust methods that couldn't be explained logically. Neither side knew that soon they would see an even greater demonstration of human magic. 1 year after humans first met the Valorians, a new problem arose. This time on Titan, Saturn's largest moon. Humans and Valorians had built a colony there together. It was home to 300 people, half human, half alien. Titan was a cold world with lakes of liquid methane. The colony was inside a large dome that kept everyone safe from the deadly atmosphere outside. One day, a powerful solar storm hit Saturn and its moons. The storm sent waves of energy that damaged many systems in the colony. Colony Director Helen Fisher called an emergency meeting. Her face was serious as she looked at the human and Valorian staff gathered in the control room. The atmospheric regulators are failing, she said. According to our readings, we have less than 6 hours before toxic gases get into our air supply. The chief Valorian engineer, Trencor, spoke up. We have analyzed the damage. The main control units are destroyed. The backup systems are also damaged. By our calculations, repairs are impossible with the materials we have. We must evacuate. The room grew quiet. Everyone knew that evacuation ships could not reach them in 6 hours. Chief Engineer Laura Martinez stood up. She was a short woman with dark hair and tired eyes. She had been working for 20 hours straight since the storm hit. I think we can fix it, she said. Trencor shook his head. Impossible. We have done the math. The solution you would need would break the laws of thermodynamics. Laura looked around the room. I need 5 volunteers. Frank Daniels, Olivia Scott, Gregory Kim, Diana Jackson, and Hector Ramirez. Meet me in workshop 3 in 5 minutes. The 5 engineers nodded and left quickly. What are you planning? Director Fisher asked. Something crazy, Laura admitted, but it might work. Trencor stepped forward. I must object. Any solution that breaks fundamental laws of physics will fail and waste precious time. Director Fisher looked at the countdown on the main screen. It showed 54732, and the numbers were getting smaller every second. "Do we have any other options?" she asked. The Valorian engineer was silent. "Then we try Laura's plan," the director decided. "Even if it seems impossible." Laura left the room quickly. In Workshop 3, her team was already gathering tools and parts. "Okay, team," she said. "We need to build something that's never been built before, using parts that weren't made to go together, to solve a problem that can't be solved." Frank Daniels smiled. "So, just a normal Tuesday then." "Let's work some magic," Laura replied, and they began. The next 5 hours in Titan Colony were unlike anything the Valorians had ever seen. Laura's team moved like they were in a dance, each person knowing what to do without much talking. A group of Valorian engineers came to watch. They stood silently as the humans took apart machines from all over the colony. "What are they doing?" One Valorian asked another. "That is a food processor. It cannot help fix air systems." Hector Ramirez was removing parts from the colony's garden watering system. Gregory Kim was taking apart 3 computers. Diana Jackson was collecting pieces from the medical equipment no one was using. Olivia Scott was working with wires and small electronic parts that she spread across the floor. Frank Daniels was cutting into the wall panels to reach hidden pipes and cables. "This is madness," said Trencor, who had come to see for himself. "They are destroying working systems to build." "What?" Laura did not bother to explain. Her hands moved quickly, connecting things that were never meant to be connected. When a circuit board stopped working, Frank hit it with a wrench in just the right spot, and somehow it started working again. "That makes no sense," a Valorian scientist whispered. "The humans wrote new computer code that should not have worked. They mixed cooling liquids that the manuals said should never be mixed. They bent the rules of engineering in ways that made the Valorians nervous." The countdown timer showed less than 1 hour remaining when Laura called everyone together. "We have one chance," she said. "The main atmospheric regulator needs to be bypassed completely. We'll use our new system instead." The final piece was strange to everyone. Laura had taken apart the kitchen's coffee maker and combined it with parts from the garden system. It looked ugly, with wires sticking out and tape holding pieces together. "This cannot work," Trencor said firmly. "The math is clear." Laura ignored him. "Ready?" she asked her team. They nodded. Diana Jackson connected the power. Gregory Kim typed commands into a small computer. Frank Daniels watched the pressure gauges. Olivia Scott stood by the emergency shoot-off switch, just in case. Hector Ramirez gave Laura a thumbs up. Laura took a deep breath and connected the final wire. For 3 seconds, nothing happened. Then the lights flickered. A humming sound filled the room. The main screen changed from red to green. "Atmospheric systems stabilized," the computer announced. Everyone was quiet. Then the humans started cheering and hugging each other. The Valorians stood completely still, their faces showing pure shock. "Impossible," Trencor whispered. "This is impossible." But it was not impossible. It was human engineering. News of what happened on Titan Colony spread quickly through the Valorian Confederation. The story was told and retold, how human engineers had done the impossible and saved hundreds of lives. 2 weeks after the crisis, the Valorian High Council held a special meeting. The large room was filled with important aliens from all 7 species of the Confederation. High Commander Xenveric, the leader of all Valorians, stood to speak. "We have studied humans for over a year now," he said. "We have seen their technology, which is less advanced than ours in many ways. But we have also seen something we do not have, their unique way of solving problems." The room was quiet as he continued. "The humans call their best engineers sorcerers as a joke, but after what we saw on Titan, the term may be fitting. They have skills we do not understand." 3 days later, an official message reached Earth. It was addressed to the International Space Agency, which handled all contact with aliens. The message surprised everyone. The Valorians formally requested that Earth send 50 of its best engineers to the Valorian homeworld to teach what they called human intuitive engineering. Even more surprising, they officially used the term sorcerers in their request. Earth's leaders met to discuss the request. They decided to create the Advanced Engineering Exchange Program. They would choose 50 engineers to go to the Valorian worlds. The first 5 chosen were Laura Martinez and her team from Titan. At the announcement ceremony, Laura looked uncomfortable on stage. She was not used to being called a hero. "We didn't do anything special," she told the crowd. "We just did our jobs." But the Valorian ambassador Zixtal disagreed. "What you did was extraordinary," they said. "Your people can see connections and possibilities that we cannot. Our logical, step-by-step approach to technology has taken us far, but we have never learned to make the intuitive leaps that humans make naturally." Laura smiled. "So now we're officially sorcerers. In our language, the closest word does mean one who does the impossible through mysterious means," Zixtal explained. "So yes, you are sorcerers to us." The program began 1 month later. Human engineers traveled to Valorian worlds, and some Valorians came to Earth to learn. For the first time in Valorian history, they admitted that their logical approach to science had limits. There was something valuable in the human way of thinking, something they wanted to learn. And it all started with a simple joke about engineers being sorcerers. 3 years passed since humans and Valorians first met in space. Many things had changed. On the red planet Mars, a special school had been built. It was called the Joint Engineering Academy. Inside the large dome on Mars, both human and Valorian students learned together. They studied the best of both worlds, the logical, careful approach of Valorian engineering and the creative, intuitive methods of human engineers. Today was graduation day for the first class. 20 Valorians and 20 humans had completed the 3-year program. They would be the first official hybrid engineers in the galaxy. High Commander Xen Varric had traveled all the way from the Valorian homeworld for this event. He stood tall on the stage, his 4 arms folded in front of him. "When we first came to Earth," he said to the crowd, "we expected to find a species of brilliant scientists. Instead, we found sorcerers, beings who could see beyond what is known and reach for what might be possible." The human and alien audience listened closely. "Our people have always believed that all problems have logical solutions that can be calculated. Humans showed us that sometimes the best answer comes from a feeling, a guess, or what you call thinking outside the box." Professor Eric Carter, head of the academy, nodded as he listened. He had been teaching engineering for 30 years and had seen many changes, but none as big as this one. "Today," Xen Varric continued, "we do not merely exchange technology. We exchange ways of thinking. Together, we are stronger than we are apart." Just as he finished speaking, the lights in the hall flickered. A small power problem threatened to disrupt the ceremony. Without being asked, a young Valorian student named Trelnak quickly moved to a wall panel. The crowd watched as Trelnak opened the panel and looked at the circuits inside. After only a few seconds, he pulled 3 components out and rearranged them in a way that made no sense according to standard designs. Then he closed the panel. The lights stopped flickering. A human woman asked, "How did you know that would work? That arrangement isn't in any manual." Trelnak smiled. "Something Valorians had learned from humans. I did not know for sure. I just felt it would work." Professor Carter washed with pride. He leaned over to Ambassador Zixtal, who was sitting nearby. "See that?" he whispered. "The kid has magic in his hands." Zixtal nodded. "Perhaps now we truly understand why you call your engineers sorcerers. It is not what they know. It is how they think." Together, human creativity and Valorian logic were opening new doors across the stars.